Thousands of people clicked on it, on the link, and as soon as they did it, was too late. They didn't download anything, they didn't install any file, they simply opened a web page. And then a white screen started. Black letters. You are an idiot. 3 smiling faces staring at you. A laugh repeating itself over and over, as if it were laughing in your face. It didn't look dangerous, but when you tried to close it, everything exploded. Every click opened more windows. Every attempt to close the browser was useless. The windows multiplied as if the computer were possessed. The system froze, the mouse stopped responding, and the only thing you could hear was that laugh. The web page was not just a prank, it was a virus that trapped you, humiliated you. It was a trap designed solely to mock you. For years it circulated around the internet like some kind of challenge. It was shared via Messenger, via email, via forums. The entire world talked about it. Everyone warned about the danger. But still people kept falling for it. It is estimated that it infected hundreds of thousands of people around the world, and yet nobody knows exactly who created it. Nobody knows why. A web page that marked an entire generation, not because of what it did, but how it did it. This is the mystery of You Are an Idiot. In the early 2000s, the internet didn't look anything like what it is today. There were no social networks as we know them. Most homes didn't have Wi-Fi. People connected with modems that made strange noises. You accessed the web with Internet Explorer 5 or 6. Most websites were basic with garish colored backgrounds, misaligned text and buttons that looked like they were made in paint. And yet, everything seemed new, infinite, full of possibilities. Yahoo chats, forums, personal blogs, everything was as chaotic as it was brilliant. Everyone posted whatever they wanted, without filters, without clear rules. It was a territory dominated by curiosity, but also by ignorance. There were no content filters, no verification systems, and antivirus programs were little more than an icon in the corner, nothing more. And in the midst of all that, the first viruses began to appear. I Love You was one of the first to unleash the chaos. You'd receive a message from one of your contacts with this subject, I love you. People opened it out of curiosity, wondering if it was a secret message, if it really meant it. And when they did, the virus activated, it deleted files, it copied itself, and sent itself automatically to all your contacts. In just a few days, millions of computers fell. Another virus of that kind was Melissa. You'd receive a message with a Word document attached, but when you opened it, it snuck into the system and started forwarding itself to the first 50 contacts in your email. It not only saturated everything, but turned your own computer into a kind of virus messenger. There were also Trojans. They disguised themselves as ordinary things, songs, pirated games, photos. And when you opened them, you gave access to everything, your files, your passwords, your camera. The fear was real, but it still wasn't fully understood. And in the midst of all that noise appeared something different, a web page, a domain, a message so simple it seemed like a bad joke, but which ended up becoming one of the most remembered attacks of that era. It didn't want your banking information. It didn't seek to install itself to spy on you. It didn't even try to stay hidden. It simply appeared on your screen, pointed and laughed at you. And the worst part of all, is that you could do nothing about it. You Are an Idiot was born in an era when users still didn't know how to protect themselves, when nobody thought a simple web page could break them. It was the first time many people discovered that not everything on the internet was fun and games. Before the world knew it as You Are an Idiot, this virus had another name. It was called Office. It was the first recognized form of the program, according to the oldest records, and according to those records, it appeared in early 2002. But here is where things become confusing, because nobody knows with certainty where it first appeared. Some say it was uploaded to a website that no longer exists, and when you attempt to trace its digital trail, the only thing you find is contradictions. Nothing is clear. Some users of old forums claimed they had found it hidden in adult sites, malformed sites, or with random names. All that is sure is that nobody remembers how it really got there. The few technical data that survive link it with the Trojan file JS Office, an entry documented by some antivirus programs of the era. But even that information is incomplete. Everything seems covered by an impossible fog. What's curious is that the first wave of the virus didn't work. It passed almost unnoticed. The file was there, the code was there, but one thing was missing: visibility. It was not until months later that it reappeared, this time on a different site, a domain with a more tempting name, You Don't Know N. Docked. You don't know who I am. And that is when the phenomenon took shape, the first real virus page as we know it today. The page carried a script, and that script was what made the difference. As soon as you entered the web, the file Sweat automatically executed. It didn't ask permission, it didn't prompt anything, it simply activated the animation, white text on black background, You Are an Idiot, and 3 smiling faces, almost childish, that never stopped staring at you. But that wasn't the worst part. The really dangerous part was that the page wouldn't let you leave. Every time you tried to close it, it opened again. Every tab closed spawned several new ones. The browser began to fill with windows until it completely locked the system. And all of that without downloading absolutely anything. It was a trap disguised as a joke. A virus that didn't hide. It told you from the start, You are an idiot. You'll click, won't you? And if you decided to enter, you proved it to yourself. It didn't stunt hide in your files. It didn't need administrator permissions. It only exploited the most basic part of your system, the browser. And in 2004, when millions of people used Internet Explorer without any protection, that small script turned into a real nightmare. What made this page different wasn't its design or its message, it was its behavior. You entered the web, and within 2 seconds, the flash file loaded, and with it the whole screen was trapped. But the really important thing lay behind the code. The small script triggered what is technically known as an infinite pop-up loop. Every time you tried to close one, the code generated new windows, 6 for each click. Each new window bounced around the screen and didn't stop. The volume would raise itself. You couldn't turn it down. You couldn't mute it. If you attempted to close the windows using Alt plus F4, you'd get more. Control plus Alt plus Del didn't respond. The system simply collapsed, and the only thing you could do was shut it off manually. When you turned it back on again, There were no traces, no infected files. Your computer looked the same as before, only the memory was left, the sound and the shame. But how was it possible that a simple web page could collapse a computer without downloading anything, without installing a program, without asking permission, just by opening a URL? The answer lies in two technologies that at that moment were beginning to transform the internet. The first was JavaScript, a language that today is basic in any web page, but in the early 2000s it was new and extremely flexible. It allowed actions to be executed directly from the user's browser, without warning, without confirmation windows. That included things as simple as moving elements on screen and as extreme as creating infinite loops of pop-up windows. The second technology was Flash Player, a tool for animation also very popular at that time, which served to make games, intros, multimedia players, and also animations like this. "You are an idiot" used Flash to show the message, the laughter, the smiling faces, and the visual flickers. But it wasn't Flash that locked up the computer, that was JavaScript. While Flash played the laugh, JavaScript triggered the pop-ups, a window after another, 6 for every click, until the system couldn't take it anymore. This virus worked especially well on the computers of that era. In 2002, the majority of PCs had less than 512 MB of RAM. In other words, an average computer at that time had 8 to 16 times less memory than a modern phone. And memory is key. It determines how many tasks your computer can handle simultaneously without collapsing. If you open a lot of windows, a lot of tabs, a lot of processes, RAM fills up and the system blocks. That does exactly what this virus exploited. Today a computer can handle dozens of tabs and videos in the background at once, but in 2002, with luck you could open 2 things before it started to slow down, and that's why it worked, because at that moment almost nobody could stop it. Internet Explorer 5 and 6 were vulnerable by design. They didn't block pop-ups and didn't limit concurrent processes. So when the page started multiplying, the processor got saturated, the memory spiked, and everything froze in a matter of seconds. Many computers simply froze, others forced reboot, and the oldest ones didn't survive the attack. Their hard drives were permanently erased, along with the system itself. From a technical level, it was a very basic attack, but it was executed so well, and at a moment when the internet was so vulnerable that its effect was devastating. It didn't need to infect you, it didn't need be downloaded. It only used your own browser against you. But it was on April 16, 2004 when everything really exploded. A new website was created, virusido.org. A clear and simple name. Behind that domain there appeared one name, Andrew Regner, a public registration record. But other than that, nothing. "You're an idiot" was a mirror version of "You don't know who I am." Basically, Andrew took the original script and pasted it on his own web page. Between 2005 and 2012, "You're an idiot" became something much bigger than a simple joke. It transformed into a phenomenon, into an icon, and above all, into a trap. At that time, YouTube did not exist, nor did Facebook in all countries yet, but that didn't stop the web from turning into one of the most shared links on the entire internet. Emails circulated, blogs, public chats. It was like a psychological game. Are you daring enough to click? The title already said it all. It was provocative and direct, and that's precisely why it worked. People shared it like a psychological game. If you were sent it, you couldn't sit avoid entering. And if you entered, you couldn't sit escape. The trick was in the form, you weren't set forced. The message wasn't, click here, it was, you're not going to do it, because you're not that idiot, are you? Thousands of users fell for this trap. And not just once. The worst thing is that it spread among friends, classmates, even strangers. And the cycle didn't stop. The internet filled with warnings. Forums with titles like "Don't enter this web page, or you'll regret it." But it was useless because for every warning, there was another user willing to mock you. Legends began to circulate. Some said the virus erased the hard drive. Others claimed that once you were inside, they spied on your webcam. Some even believed the web was connected to hackers from China, Russia, or Japan. None of that was true, but the fear had already been planted, and that made even more people want to click. It became such a popular phenomenon that videos and memes appeared. It showed up in creepypastas, in video games, in hidden references inside forums. It became part of internet culture, and it didn't need a marketing campaign or algorithms. You just had to click. Yano was one of the most viral, annoying, and well-known pranks in internet history. And yet nobody knows with certainty who created it. The theories kept circulating. Some believe it was the work of a lone troll. Others point to old forum groups like Troll Channel, where it was said the original sweat file appeared in Japanese. There are even people who claim the author named himself Daiki, a name that shows up in old versions of the sweat file. Andrew Regner is the only person who shows up in the official domain records for "You Are an Idiot" .org. He registered it in 2004, and that sips it. There are no photos of him, no posts, no associated activity beyond the virus, but there is something that never quite fits. How did Andrew Regner get access to the original script? Because in 2002 cloning a web page wasn't as simple as today. There were no tools like now. You couldn't just inspect the code or download it in one click, especially if it was a page that disappeared as quickly as "You don't know who I am." So, how did he get it? Did he become part of the same environment where the virus was born? Either way, it wasn't coincidence. It wasn't something just anyone could replicate with such precision. And that only feeds the suspicion that Andrew was not just a bystander. Years later, the web page was sold to an unknown company, and that opens a new possibility. Andrew could have been the real creator. He might have coded the virus, the different web pages. Several fake accounts in old forums, blogs, or communities of that time would be enough. It wouldn't take much, just some posts talking about the damned virus, others warning people don't click this link, and the rest would happen by curiosity alone. Was Andrew the real creator? Did he program it himself? Did he just buy it? The reality is there's no real proof, only lost messages, comments in forums that no longer exist. With no declared author, the figure behind the virus became almost a legend, a digital ghost, someone who apparently didn't seek fame or money, but just to leave a mark. And he did. Over time, "You Are an Idiot" disappeared, but its laugh did not. The original code stopped working in most browsers. Adobe Flash was retired, and pop-up windows no longer had the same effect. But that didn't stop the internet. On the contrary, it was only a matter of time before clones appeared. One of the most known was an idiot. C. A harmless replica created by a user called Enderman. Same animation, same sound, but no pop-ups, no malicious script, just the memory. The site was completely rewritten in HTML5 so that modern browsers could run it, but it was not the only one. In 2013, a YouTuber specialized in computer viruses known as Danuk. Zero. This time, not as an attack, but as an experiment. He wanted to demonstrate that with the proper tools, it was possible to replicate the same effect that years ago had collapsed millions of computers, and he succeeded. The project began functioning in modern browsers, a faithful replica but safe. Versions of the virus were also distributed as executable files, some disguised as Word documents. In some cases, the clones were more dangerous. Keyloggers, backdoors, real Trojans that didn't just annoy, but stole data or controlled the system in the background. These malwares circulated on the dark web. Pirate download sites, hidden forums, and even though they never reached the fame of the original, they did become a real threat. You Are an Idiot wasn't just a web page, it was an experience. And like any experience, it left a mark. For years there was a real fear of clicking. It didn't matter if the link came from a friend or from a stranger, you hesitated because you knew you could end up with your computer frozen, hearing that laugh in loop. Today, if you type an idiot in Google, results keep appearing, pages, videos, clones. Yes, even some versions still work, but they no longer have the same effect. Modern browsers are prepared. Chrome, Firefox, Safari, all block pop-ups by default. If you try to replicate the original virus behavior, the browser simply stops it. The system neither freezes nor slows down. You just get a warning, and that's it. And as an attack or an idiot is officially dead. What remains are imitations, tributes, parodies that recover the aesthetic, the audio, and the phrase, but without intent to harm. But there is one question that still hangs in the air. Could something like that happen again? No, not exactly the same. Systems are more secure now, but technology has changed too. With the arrival of artificial intelligence, anyone can generate code, design websites, automate behaviors. In theory, anyone with time, curiosity, and some programming knowledge could create something new, something similar, something that doesn't try to steal you just to make you lose control. Because in the end, that is what this page did. It didn't attack you, it laughed at you. And that remains possible. You Are an Idiot was a joke, a virus, but above all, a proof. A proof of how vulnerable we are to the very basics. A perfect example of how enough it is to provoke us to touch exactly where we shouldn't. And the most curious thing is that it worked. Thousands of people fell. Normal users, curious, experts, it didn't matter. All equally defenseless against a simple page that did nothing except leave you embarrassed. And that raises a question: who is the real idiot? The one who created it, the one who clicked it, or the system that allowed it? The internet is full of things we don't fully understand, full of traps that look harmless, and full of people who, just for the pleasure of bothering, are capable of creating something like this, something that laughs in your face. So tell me, would you have clicked? This channel is new, and the idea is to bring more stories like this every week.